Item 16. Do you have mine coming up here? Did Brendan come to you?
Oh, we've got. Yeah. Oh. Do you want it as a new row?
Just what it is there. Anyone coming to the table for this one? Well, basically, I have a resolution up here that I'm moving. Do I have a seconder for that?
Can you scroll up a bit so I can see the...
It's the one at the bottom. So I'm moving that. Seconded by Glenn.
Could I signal, Mr. Chair? I like the general thrust of it, but I would be keen to make a slight amendment to that. But
Yes, pray tell.
Is now the right time to signal what that would be? I would say, instead of declining, I would move as an amendment that this item be referred to the Central City Development Forum and a workshop be held with the key stakeholders.
How do people feel about that? No, I mean, I think we need to send a signal. That doesn't mean that something can't come back after due discussion.
No, absolutely, and I obviously respect your chair's recommendation there, but just I also agree that we need to send a signal, though a slightly different one. So respectfully, then I've put an amendment. There might not be a seconder for it.
Okay. So let's just read that out again, Jamie.
My amendment would be, well, actually, there isn't. As soon as you have a seconder for your one,
I do. So Glenn's second.
Okay, then that's an amendment. So, and that would be that the item be referred to the Central City Development Forum and a workshop be held with key stakeholders.
Okay.
It's not an amendment, it's a foreshadowed motion.
Okay, then I'll foreshadow the motion. Yeah, whatever works. No, I don't need a seconder for a foreshadowed motion then. If that is easy for everyone.
Referring, it's a completely different.
So in terms of referring the item, that's the whole item, is what you're suggesting.
What's it, sorry?
What you're suggesting is referring the whole item?
Yeah, send the whole item there. So I wouldn't decline it, but I would say what we've got there, and look, and I don't want to get into debate, it's not time, but I don't think that the report or the recommendations that we've got there is that we're quite there yet. Though in saying that, that's not to say that nothing should happen, something should happen, it's just we can do something better. So instead of killing it right now, I'd rather refer it to the Central City Development Forum, following on from David Lynch's deputation as well. Engage with those relevant stakeholders, see what works for them, and address those issues there. But I'm probably
Are you happy with that, Glenn? You're second it? No, but I'm happy with that actually.
This one is clear. That one that remains up in the air. We've got an annual plan coming to us on Tuesday. And that remains.
I think we can make a decision on this, but we can still keep the conversation going.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let's stick with the resolution that's being moved.
So, Mr. Chair, is mine an amendment or a foreshadowed motion?
A foreshadowed
motion.
Okay, so it remains a foreshadowed one. That's fine.
Okay, people. So, any questions on that, or are we happy to move? Yeah, Dion.
I was just going to ask, are we able to note if in this somehow to recognise the deputation this morning and potentially invite that person to come to the discussion as well?
No, we have recognised the deputation already this morning.
What's that, sorry?
We've recognised the deputation already that Mr. Lynch made.
Yeah.
Yep.
But could we invite, well, specifically say invite them to the key stakeholders meeting that we have?
Well, if we get there, that's a different story. So we're going to vote on my resolution.
I see what you've done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Anne?
Sorry. As I said previously, I think to me it feels like it's just too one-sided. So I, along with Jamie, would like an opportunity for the retailers to discuss and come up with some ideas for them, you know, from their perspective on how to make the most of the events that are being planned for the Central City. So I'm not sure how we go forward with that, but I think that needs to somehow be considered.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is the Central City Development Forum can continue to monitor that, and we're happy to look at proposals that they come up with. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, is there any debate on that? Jamie?
Might as well rip into it then. So a bit of change of tact. So in light of the chair's recommendation there, that's absolutely fine, but I will be voting against it, and obviously putting forward the foreshadowed motion that this item be referred to the Central City Development Forum for a workshop to be held with the key stakeholders. And the reason why is I just don't think, and don't get me wrong, if this passes, we're happy to monitor it, because you've told us to. I just think that everyone's just a bit sick of monitoring, because everyone's monitoring and there's heaps of reports, and at the end of the day, the fundamental question is, what are the issues and how can council play a part in solving them? And that's what we actually need. We don't need more monitoring or more reports or anything like that. We just need some action on it. And I think the frustration with the report that we had is the fundamental question isn't asked, nor is it answered. So the issues and the barriers to the central city, as per virtually every independent report and every one of the multiple organisations that are monitoring it, are the following, and they're all intertwined. It's a lack of residence and a lack of residential development at every level. It's a broad mix that you need. Cost of central city land, cost of construction, consenting and compliance, delay of anchor projects, financing, both the front end and pre-sale requirements, competition from the suburbs and suburban shopping areas, competition from neighbouring councils, urban design requirements, and car parking. Now, this isn't my list. I've just recited the reoccurring themes. So the lack of a marketing campaign and another full-time employee doesn't feature on any of this lists, and that doesn't surprise me. So I would suggest that we need to be more targeted around directly addressing what the problems are. So, look, on one hand, we've got some recommendations there which the council as a whole isn't comfortable with. The chair has put something else forward, but I still don't think that cuts the mustard, and I think that we need to actually take action with it instead of just monitoring. So make no mistake about it, car parking is a major, and I think a joined up strategy with the private sector in this area, so we're all working hand in glove to deliver what we need, which is critical mass, can't be underestimated. The free parking works. Yes, there is a cost to everything, but it has value in it too, hence why the malls do that. I think most of what's in the report that we've got in front of us can be done by the existing people anyway, be that the Central City Business Association, Christchurch NZ, and current investors and retailers. So I believe that our role as a council should be to fill the gap or to work to solve problems that those others are not in a position to be able to solve. So my view is I'll be voting against the Chair's recommendation in light of my foreshadowed motion, because I believe that the best thing to do would be to workshop it directly with the people who are affected by this, and from there we can make a recommendation on how we can best fill the gaps and address what those fundamental problems actually are instead of more monitoring.
Thank you. Glenn?
Thanks, Ref. My responses are here, like we've already invested by 100 million with Tūranga. So that's brought people into the city. Others are doing things too, and that's happened just in the course of the regulatory space. Hoyts with the food courts, there's a new school coming in. Can anyone give me an answer to how would 280,000 of OPEX ratepayer money actually add value to a lot of these events which already stand on their own? I mean, if you wanted to do something, you could leverage off something like the marathon and support funding towards the traffic compliance costs, because that brings money, people into the city, etc., etc. So you've got a really good multiplier effect which you could add value to there. I just really, nothing is leaping out at how this would benefit. There are some hard realities. Winter is still winter, so there are things we can do and things we have done, but I'm actually not convinced. There's no proof of concept that 280k, it's recognised, I know, there's no silver bullet, but for me there's no proof of concept that this is going to be part of that.
Anyone else? Dave?
I'm going to vote against the Chair's recommendation as well. We heard of a quite good presentation this morning which suggested we should be working in a commercial partnership with the CBD businesses, and I think the foreshadowed motion offers us the opportunity to pursue the matter further and to be looking at, as Jamie said, the core issues of what is the problem with the inner city.
Yanni?
Look, I think this council has been incredibly generous towards the central city. We've invested millions and millions, tens of millions in development contribution rebates, for example, and we've had hardly any reporting on that, whether it's been effective or not, and I welcome the opportunity for us to discuss that at some stage. But you know, the reality is that we've got our own buildings as a council in the central city that are still boarded up, not being fixed. We simply cannot afford to keep propping up private development in the central city when we can't afford to fix our own buildings and our own social housing and actually get on top of our maintenance. I think we've got more pressing issues that we actually need to deliver as a council, things that we are responsible for, or things that we own. It was really interesting when the River Promenade opened, and when I walked down there and looked at the development that was happening, to walk past our city that's boarded up and fenced off, to walk past the provincial buildings which is boarded off and fenced off, you know, a number of buildings that we own that are not really making much progress on. So, you know, I understand that things may be tough for people in the central city. We've been incredibly generous and invested significantly already. We now need to get on and focus on the things that we have direct responsibility of, in my view. So we cannot keep giving out these sorts of grants when the difference isn't clear what difference it's making. We've been criticised for things like the night noodle market. When we actually bring events in, we get criticised for they're competing with existing hospitality operators. And so, you know, I think Councillor Gough has raised a number of things that are much better addressed through other forums, like the development that's happening in our suburbs in terms of shopping malls expanding, and I welcome the debate around urban design, which we still have yet really to have as a council, but we do know that the previous government removed most of the urban design requirements in our city, so I look forward to that. But this package is not going to help. I fully support the Chairman's recommendation.
The Mayor?
Thank you. I'm going to vote for the recommendation, but I want to speak to kind of the importance of the fact that the Central City Development Forum has been established now with its deliberate focus on the central city. I don't believe that the foreshadowed motion is required for the Central City Development Forum to bring back good ideas to this council. That is why we've established it. I mean, it does look in the action plan as if it's something brand new, that it's only just been operating since late last year, but that's not correct. The Development Forum has operated the whole time that I've been the Mayor of Christchurch, and we deliberately, and I thought strategically, redirected its focus to the central city for a reason, and it was to do precisely this. When we asked staff to report back in conjunction with Christchurch NZ on a number of strategies to direct attention to the difficulties experienced in the central city over the winter in particular, before the anchor projects are finished and in the period within which that residential development hasn't delivered as much as we would have hoped, we've ended up in the situation that it's really just that city winter package that it's not adequate, and I don't want to send a message out there that we're prepared to set aside $250,000 from ratepayers' money in order to do something that we're already doing, and doing with a variety of different approaches through Christchurch NZ and through the Christchurch Business, the Central City Business Association. And to me, it's them working together that is going to produce the answers to the questions that we're looking for. So I don't approve putting $250,000 on budget, and I would like the Central City Development Forum to continue as it has started on progressing these good ideas for the Central City.
Andrew?
In a very similar vein, I mean, I think we need to bear in mind that what we're voting on today is the establishment of this package. We're not voting on our support in general for the Central City, and there are a number of bodies and agencies who do have the regeneration, the activation of the Central City absolutely at the core of what they're doing or what they should be doing anyway. The CCBA, Christchurch NZ, and in fact the Central City Development Forum all have roles to play here and are playing those roles and will continue to do so. I'm just failing to see the link between spending $280,000 and positive outcomes in the winter. The point has been made that Christchurch is seasonal. Christchurch will always, to some extent, be seasonal because of the fact that we're on one of 3 little islands in the middle of 2 large oceans, and we're at a latitude that we are. There will always be a seasonal challenge. That will be mitigated to some extent by the completion of anchor projects such as the stadium, the convention centre, possibly the multi-use arena as well. But I believe that we've got agencies in place whose role it is to do this. I believe that they can do that job well. As I say, I'm just not seeing the link between the $280,000 price tag and any possibility of a positive outcome that's relevant to the problem which we've got, which possibly still requires some closer problem definition as well.
Anyone else? Dion?
Oh, yeah, I wasn't going to support the original resolution because it did to me when I was reading it, and I don't mean to cause any offence to anybody who wrote it, but it wasn't exciting me, if you know what I mean. And what we're really trying to do is trying to excite people in the city and bring them back in, and make people realise the opportunity that has been provided in the Central City. And as was mentioned before, there has been a huge amount of investment into the city, especially around the Central City, the promenade and all those places, the private investment and whatnot. And that's been really good to see, and it has delivered some really good results. But and it was also said before that some of the major issues around the Central City that are popping up, and from time and time, report after report, the one or 2 things that keep popping up is accessibility, car parking, residential people living in the Central City, and jobs within the Central City. And there's very limited sort of levers that the council can pull. One of them is that we do have control of a whole lot of car parking spaces in the Central City, which could have provided some sort of incentive around winter as well. So hopefully, there are a lot of options that still could be looked at. I'm still in favour of pulling some of those if we could, but it would be a tough decision to make eventually. But yeah, I'm not going to also support the committee recommendation. I will support the foreshadowed motion because, again, I don't want to send the signal to say we're just going to decline the establishment of anything to do with the Central City. We need to do some more work on it. I totally agree. But I don't want to send the signal to Christchurch to say that the City Council is just declining something to do with the Central City. In my opinion, we need to do some work, get the people around the table, including the person who spoke here today, sort out what the actual issues are, what levers this council can pull and can't pull, and then work on a plan through the Central City Action Plan to get it done.
Sarah?
Thanks. As the deputation pointed out today, increased footfall in the Central City doesn't necessarily translate into increased business, and something else is needed. I'd like to add a few words at the end of the current resolution, either by amendment or agreement with the mover and seconder, because currently it makes it look like the Development Forum is purely a monitoring body. So I'd like to just add in with the note there that that we'd love them to provide the advice and ideas on the Central City activation, like they would normally. So just by adding continues to monitor progress in the Central City and provides advice and ideas on Central City activation as they arise, or something like that.
Just as a point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
That's what we have done. We sent the action plan, and the council keeps not actioning the action points. So that's why I want to work with the stakeholders to come up with something different, because doing that exact thing hasn't resulted. So I don't mean to be difficult with that, but I can't see the point.
Currently, it just says monitor, and I think that's the wrong message to send. So I was just adding, to provide advice and ideas on Central City activation as required, as they arise, or something like that. If not, that's fine.
Glenn, what do you think?
I guess it's just making explicit.
Yeah.
It's just making explicit what they do rather than just half their function currently.
Yeah, I'm happy for that to be added.
So to provide advice and ideas on Central City activation as they arise. Yeah, or to this committee, or yeah.
Yes, I think the point is we are open for proposals.
Absolutely, that's it. I just like to make that really clear.
You don't need a
because we are,
resolution to do that.
because it just looked a bit kind of blunt.
Well, sometimes blunt is good. Okay, so
That's it.
Anne and then Vicky.
I'd like to reinforce what Dion was saying, that I don't want to support this recommendation because the word decline seems fairly final and a bit harsh. So I would be supporting Jamie's foreshadowed motion. I think this is about relationship, and we all want a vibrant inner city, but to me it feels like it's been a wee bit of one-way street. So I'd really love the discussion, the conversation to be had with retailers about how they could perhaps be a bit more flexible with their opening hours to take advantage of the people that are coming in for all the events that we've organised. I realise it's a financial issue. However, other countries in the world have opened later and stay open in the evenings. I think there are opportunities for that to happen here. So I would like to challenge the retailers to be a little bit more open to those sorts of ideas, and I hope that Jamie's committee will actually work on that a bit. So I will be supporting Jamie's foreshadowed motion.
Thank you. Vicky?
The reason I will be supporting your amendment, is that I don't think the proposal was a good one, just to be incredibly blunt. Only 80,000 of it goes into small-scale events, and the difficulty I have with it is that I think there are way more exciting possibilities that could be there. I don't think for a moment that the only good ideas that will come up in relation to cool things that will happen in the central city will be from retailers or from the business community. They very often come up from all sorts of people who want to do all sorts of things. Some will come up from the retailers, and Richard Peebles has had a number of good ideas that he's talked about that would be incredibly easy actually to fund. We have an event seeding fund, we have an innovation and sustainability fund that could possibly be used for something quite innovative. But when I read this, I wanted to get excited about the proposal, but I failed to, and then when I saw what the money was actually going to, it just left me completely cold, because it doesn't actually achieve what we want to achieve. And that's the difficulty I have with it. So I would say we are open for great ideas about making things happen in the central city at any stage, in a range of venues that we have in terms of which committees deal with them. And we'd love to hear those from anybody, not just the Development Forum, but from anybody. But this is not it. So I will support your amendment.
Okay. Anyone else? Aaron?
Yeah, I'll support Anne, who's supporting Dion, who's supporting Jamie, and it's around, a lot of it's around the deputation this morning. There's a key point raised on page 2 around the low-hanging fruit, and so just a discussion that can be had about which ones of those can be picked up. There's the obvious ones there, and I will just mention one of them, and that's the completion of the anchor projects. Like, the sooner that the court theatres in town, and those thousands of people per year coming to town, because a lot will go for dinner, they'll shop, they'll do other things, those kind of projects. And I walked around the convention centre today. I'm proud to announce that the first panes of glass are going up on the building, so that's a great sign to see it starting to close in. Like, this is genuine progress that's happening in the city. I've posted it on my Facebook page. I challenge everyone else to do the same, because it's those posts and people going to town and getting excited about the great stuff that happens in the city that will bring people back in, not so much having the negative conversations, but the positive ones. And yesterday in Market Square, it was packed with a Waitangi Day celebration. that is the stuff that brings the vibrancy to the inner city. And then there was the Qatari announcement of the waka rowing on the Otakaro River, which is going to set us apart from other cultural destinations in this country, because that is incredibly unique, and it's those experiences and those things coming to our inner city that are going to make the changes. So the more we as an organisation can facilitate that and drive them ahead quicker rather than ever put up barriers, will be what will deliver the successful city that we all dream of.
Okay. Anyone left? Jim.
Yeah, I support the committee the recommendation. The reason is actually, like Mayor, in some other council already mentioned, back to the long-term plan and also the annual plan, we already grant the funding to the Christchurch NZ, Central City Business Association, and also we did have the kind of rates relief before. That's true, that's a fact. But if we break down those $280,000, particularly in here, but some of the, the category I doubt. $100,000 strategic marketing campaign, Christchurch NZ, I don't think so. They didn't have budget that can do it. Because we grant a huge amount to the Christchurch NZ. Why we need additional one? I doubt. That's there to promote exploration, That's there the current existing the responsibility. Why need to additional one? Another one is $30,000 local the marketing. I'm not sure why is the council the responsibility. We grant the funding to the Central City Business Association. Why they cannot take the more positive the law ability to do this one, rather than from the ratepayer to pay the actual one. It's difficult to approve. And the other one I don't need to describe so detail. But if we review those last year all the requests, particularly in here, we should be focused on the kind of the options, but including those Central City winter ballot packaging. But based on the staff report, it looks like we focus on winter the packaging as a focus. That's wrong. This winter packaging should be part of those possible the options. Otherwise, we just transfer the different focus. That's wrong. So I support the committee recommendation.
Thank you, Jimmy. Okay, well, I'll finish it off if everyone has had their say. I mean, some good discussion here. I mean, I think that there's a clear no to the $280,000 requested. As many people have said, it doesn't solve the problem. And quite frankly, all these agencies and various groups have got the funding to do the work, and that's actually their job. And I worry when we constantly keep getting calls for new funding, when in fact they're funded to do this exact work in the first place. In terms of the resolutions here, look, we don't need a resolution to have a meeting and make a good proposal. So, I mean, that's kind of by the by. The council is heavily invested in the central city. You know, we've got $1 billion worth of projects ready to go right now in the central city. As Jamie noted, the problem is residential development in the central city. It hasn't happened. That's how you can get people here on a sustainable basis. The rest of it will come. I mean, as Aaron said, I was out in the square yesterday. People are giving such positive feedback about what's going on in the central city. A lot of them are still coming back in from, years ago. We've got the town hall opening in a month. Things are going actually pretty well. We've got the arts festival coming here in the winter. So I think, really what worries me is that we're constantly micromanaging the central city. The council doesn't own the central city. Our job is to provide the basic infrastructure, deliver the anchor projects, and in a way get out of the way of the private and community sector to get on and do stuff. And I'm worried that people always think, go and ask the council for money when they need something to be done. And I think that's something, just as we asked the Crown to sort of get out of our face in the central city, we need to pull back a little bit and not be seen as the place to go every time you need money for an idea. So I'm very happy with the committee recommendation as I've proposed. If that's lost, we'll go to Jamie's one. I'm pretty relaxed about that as well. and pretty happy for the development forum to keep working on proposals, and happy to consider any good ideas as they come forward. So with that, I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against?
No.
I think that's carried, but...
May I ask for a division on that?
Yes, you may. When are we getting our electronic screens back?
We tried it, we can't afford it.
Can't someone do an app or something?
Councillor Keown?
Yes. I mean, no.
Oh, God, we'll take the first one.
Councillor Galloway? Councillor Chen?
Yes.
Councillor Davidson?
No.
Councillor Cotter? Yes. The Mayor?
Yes.
Councillor Turner?
Yes.
Councillor Goff?
No.
Councillor Burke?
Yes.
Councillor Livingstone?
Yes.
Councillor East?
No.
Councillor Clearwater?
Yes.
Councillor Johansson?
Yes.
Councillor Sweeks?
No.
Councillor Templeton?
Yes.
And Councillor Manji?
Yes.
10 for yes and 6 for no.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's carried.